Good afternoon and welcome to our fourth annual closing celebration of our 21-day Equity Challenge. My name is Andre Ebron, and I have the pleasure and honor of serving as the Senior Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at United Way for Southeastern Michigan. If you could please drop in the chat where you are from, your pronouns if you feel comfortable sharing them, and what organization or city and county you represent. We are a four-county serving organizations, and we have the mission of mobilizing the caring power of Detroit and Southeastern Michigan in measurable and lasting ways that is improving communities and individual lives. Today, I am pleasantly surprised and welcome to bring to the stage the leading director of our 21-day Equity Challenge. Please welcome right now the Associate Director of DEI Learning and Engagement, Steph Ross. Please let's give some love in the chat for all of those who know her, introduce to some, and present to others. Welcome, Steph.
Thanks, Andre. I'm so excited to be with you all in our community space today. We are going to get started this afternoon with a land acknowledgement. As we gather in this communal space today, we aim to advocate and support the advancement of the sovereignty of Michigan's Indigenous communities and individuals who have lived here and live here now. United Way for Southeastern Michigan's Detroit office is located on the lands of the Anishinaabe nations of the Three Fires Council, the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples. We recognize that all Indigenous peoples, here and beyond, whose land have been occupied, have and continue to be forcefully removed from their homelands. This is in solidarity with Black and Indigenous communities who continue to be systematically excluded and oppressed through the ongoing and damaging effects of settler colonialism, genocide, and myths of white supremacy. Land acknowledgements are a place to start towards reconciliation. We encourage you to join us in taking action by visiting native-land.ca. This will come up in the chat in just a moment. This site is called Native Land Digital. They strive to go beyond the traditional ways of talking about Indigenous people and to develop a platform where Indigenous communities can represent themselves and their histories on their own terms. They also work to create space where non-Indigenous people can be invited and challenged to learn more about the lands they inhabit, the history of those lands, and how we all can be active parts of a better future together. Thank you for grounding our time together in this land acknowledgement. As we move past these 21 days, we encourage you to take all that you've learned and put it into action. At this time, I'm going to hand it back to Andre.
Thank you, Steph. It is always good for us to ground ourselves. It is what's driving our equity measures forward. When I think about the last 4 years of our equity challenge, we had the goal of reaching 10,000 individuals, the coalition of the willing raising their hands and being willing to engage, to read, to watch, to listen, to engage, to get within the community and work with their individual sphere of influence and cohort to really bring about equitable change, starting with themselves, working outwardly, and then ultimately impacting the community. I am excited to announce that this year that we have over 13,000 people that have raised their hand and have been engaging with the content on a daily basis. And so when we think about where that is happening, we're thinking about Wayne County, we're thinking about Oakland County, we're thinking about Macomb County, and we're thinking about our family in Washtenaw County, but not just regionally. We're also thinking about the international impact that we're having. There were 3 countries outside of the United States that also decided to participate. And then across the nation, there were 27 states. And so I really want you to think about that what you are doing at your individual homes, in your individual lives, at your workplace, it is far reaching. And you are part of a community who has chosen to really confront bias, to begin to no longer ignore the stereotypes, and to take the challenge of really learning and engaging with content that can change how you engage with others who are different than you. I really want everybody to drop this in the chat right now. Drop it in the chat right now. That just because someone is different than you doesn't mean they have a dissenting opinion from you. It just means they see the world from a different lens. And what we've really been working with and working at United Way for Southeastern Michigan is not just socializing it as an equity lens, but it's an equity mindset that we cultivate over time that really impacts all that we do here at United Way. When you think about United Way, here's 3 things that I want you to think about. Drop it in the chat. Equitable communities, stable households, and thriving children. Go ahead, drop it in the chat. Someone say that. Equitable communities, stable households, and thriving children. Here's what we also recognize here at United Way is that nothing significant happens without someone taking the bold stance of leadership. And over the last 5 years, we've seen the courageous leadership of our president and CEO, Dr. Darian Hudson. Under her leadership, we've seen the organization grow by over 100%. Under Dr. Hudson's leadership, we've seen millions of dollars come in during the tough and challenging times of COVID and go directly back out into community. When we think about the challenges that we face, we think about specifically for the DEI department that sits under the leadership, and you'll hear from her later, of Tanya Adair, our Chief Development, Diversity, and Engagement Officer. We think about the 50 Faith Forward partners, and that was the brainchild of Dr. Hudson and Tanya working together, thinking about that the faith community is generally the first line of engagement when it comes to addressing those challenges. We think about the Pay It Forward initiative that we had that really worked with people who had marginalized identities, whether you were BIPOC-led organization, a woman-led organization, a veteran-led organization, a small business, or an LGBTQIA plus led organization, or if you're a disability serving and led organization. We mobilized grants to organizations that were impacting and serving those communities. And then when we think about our racial equity fund that has now 84 organizations serving all of the 4 counties, Wayne, Oakland, Washtenaw, and Macomb, we think about, and I want you to write this down. Dr. Hudson said this, and it made an impression, an indelible impression on my heart that I share everywhere I go, that we can never underestimate the power of a single action. I want you dropping hearts, chats, welcomes, all of that, while we welcome the fearless leader of United Way for Southeastern Michigan. Please help me welcome Dr. Darian Hudson.
Thank you so much, Andre. I love listening to you and Steph just talk about this work that we're all so passionate about. When you say 5 years, really takes me back, and it's almost 6 years. In July, it'll be 6 years since I started with this organization. But I think about what it took for us to launch our very first 21-day equity challenge, following in those bold footsteps from the then Washtenaw County United Way. And we are now merged as one organization. And this is just a special moment in the history of our United Ways that we are now one 4-county region celebrating this 4th annual 21-day equity challenge. But courage creates a ripple effect. And Andre, while I appreciate all of your sentiments, I can't do any of this work without all of you. And so many people raising their hands, daring to be bold, daring to be courageous, to say this is something we believe in, that we want to see continue in our community, and to say that we are 13,000 strong in our community, signing up, taking the challenge day after day is just incredible. So I thank all of you for taking this challenge with us, going on this journey with us year after year to make all of this happen. I also want to thank you for just taking time out of your day today to be with us as we reflect on the past 3 weeks, as we honor our commitments and the bravery of all of us for signing up for this challenge, continuing to keep these conversations around equity ever present in our community, in our dialogue, and in our personal lives together. This 21 days of content and conversations and action, it's just phenomenal. And I'm so appreciative of all of you. There are so many hands that touch this year after year to make sure that it is a success. Quite a bit of work goes into writing all of the content, drawing down all of the videos, putting all of this together for us to be able to digest on this 3-week journey. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. Now, I'd love, Andre's really good at audience participation, so I'm going to keep that going. And we would love to hear about your favorite parts of the challenge. Were there any days that stood out for you? If so, please put it in the chat. For those of you that have worked so tirelessly behind the scenes to bring all of this to light, you can also share anything that was your favorite part or most memorable part of this challenge with your colleagues as well in the chat. We would also love to hear about those community action days that you participated in, and we'll get to more about that in just a moment. But if you have any experiences that you wanted to share about that, we would love to hear that too. So I'm going to bring up Andre and Steph again shortly, and they're going to walk us through some of the data and trends that we saw during this year's challenge and share more on the actual days that inspired others in our community. This challenge is an incredible opportunity for us to gather as we share our stories, our journeys, our experiences. We try to heal, we grow, we deepen our understanding of how personal and collective action can produce meaningful and lasting change. And as Andre said, and yes, it is my absolute favorite quote. I remember hearing it when I was in high school as part of Amnesty International. But you could never underestimate the power of a single action, and you can't. Anything that you do, whether it's just reading an article, taking the time to watch a video, maybe taking some challenging topics and having a conversation with a colleague or friend or family member, it is all progress as we try to close these racial and social inequities in our community. I would like to also thank our Equity Challenge community partners. You are always working to serve our community well. You're giving us feedback on these topics. You're helping us writing the content, but you're doing the hard work and the heavy lifting, not just for these 3 days and not just for the writing that goes into the Equity Challenge, but every day. And we're so grateful for all of your support and your leadership in our region and in our community. I also wish to thank the Avalon Healing Center and Guiding Harbor for opening your doors to us, helping us bring our challenge to life in meaningful ways with our Community Action Fridays. Can we just stop for a minute and please make as much noise in the chat as you possible? Lots of reactions for Avalon Healing Center and Guiding Harbor. Thank you so much. This is truly the hallmark of our work and being able to bring people together to have conversations about these difficult topics and then marching out into the community and taking what we are learning forward to be able to share with others and make a difference. Throughout our challenge, we also featured several partners in our What's the Word Wednesday series. Others joined us from our Washtenaw United broadcast on WEMU, and I wish to thank all of you as well for leaning in and helping us expand our knowledge on these important topics like birth equity, immigration, and equity in the legal system. The more people that are hearing about this, hopefully the more next year we'll just continue to add more and more and more people to our challenge. I also wish to thank all of the sponsors who are contributing to our challenge year after year. We have a lot of new friends this year as well because they understand the importance of creating equitable communities. A very special thank you to Toyota, Stellantis, One Magnify, Borg Warner, Deloitte, Henry Ford Health, and the University of Michigan Ginsburg Center. Today is officially the last day of the Equity Challenge, but in reality, it is only the beginning. In June, we celebrate Pride Month, National Immigration Heritage Month, National Caribbean American Heritage Month, and there are others that we celebrate throughout the year. The Equity Challenge is a type of hyper-awareness and focus, but it is also a call to action for the entire year. And I'd be remiss if I could just have a moment of podium privilege. I've got to give a very special shout out to Father's Day that we also celebrate in June. And you guys know I get emotional every time I talk about anything that has to do with my family. But I think so much about my father, who every year would come to my elementary school when we were growing up in Virginia Beach, and he would do a week's worth of Black history exercises and classes with my friends in our school. And it was just so special. I remember him building out crossword puzzles with so many different famous African Americans in our history, some that everyone knows, but others that people may not know, like Norbert Rillieux. I wonder if you've heard of him before. Lewis Latimer, Charles Drew, so many wonderful leaders. Ida B. Wells in our community. And I think about that as we're doing this 21-day equity challenge, and Father's Day is this weekend. And, I tell him thank you all the time, but this has very special meaning as we wrap up this 21-day equity challenge just before the day that we get to celebrate our fathers. He instilled in me a sense of cultural pride that has never faltered and has never gone away. It's in my bones. It's something I feel every single day. And I want that for everyone. I want everyone to be able to feel that. And that's why this challenge is just so important to me personally and also to our United Way. I pray that we are continuing to be mindful, doing all that we can, not only during this 21 days, but also afterwards as we continue to shape the world that we want to see, where we live, where we work, where we play, making sure that we are leaving a legacy of access and opportunities for our children and their children and their children. As a mom, as a leader, as a sister, as a daughter, as a friend, I remain steadfastly committed to the principles of diversity, equity, inclusion that center our humanity. I believe that when we break down all of these barriers and that we take the challenge and the willingness to learn and to care more deeply about the well-being of all of those who are different from us, we light the way. So let's dedicate ourselves as a community to exercising our equity muscles day in and day out through all of our commitments, everywhere that we are and in all that we do. I thank you so much again for joining us as we close out our 4th annual 21-Day Equity Challenge and we celebrate our collective impact. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome the one, the only Tanya Dare, who is our Chief Development, Diversity and Equity, Diversity and Engagement Officer at United Way for Southeastern Michigan. I thank all of you so much and be well. Tanya, you take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hudson. I'm just really appreciative of your leadership and willingness to continue this important work. I always enjoy hearing you speak and the passion that you exude whenever you're in the presence of community members. I'm so excited to be here with all of you today to close out our 4th annual Equity Challenge and to lift up the hard work of our team and community partners as we celebrate the participants who said, yes, I will rise to the challenge. We're so very proud of the way the community stepped up for the challenge this year. More than 13,000 people. Wow, that is truly incredible. And that alone is a reason to celebrate. So put your claps in, your hearts in, your celebratory memes in. Just really, really, really excited about that. When we first launched the 21-Day Equity Challenge in 2020, it was a unique time in our community. We were all being impacted by a global pandemic where Alice households in Black, Latino, and Native American communities were the hardest hit. When that was coupled with a series of high-profile cases of police brutality that led to nationwide demonstrations, it shook many people out of whatever had previously made them numb to staring in the face of racism and injustice. Diversity, equity, and inclusion took center stage, and our community became more determined than ever to move the needle towards equitable, just, and fair change. Over the past 2 years, we've seen fewer positive headlines, fewer protests, and overall less focus on DEI, but we know the core issues remain more prevalent than ever before. I'm proud that our United Way is still spearheading these conversations and fighting systemic issues, not just during these 21 days, but every day. Again, I want to thank our staff and partners for investing the time and energy required to prepare the content for this challenge. I also want to thank our DEI team for their constant commitment to this effort, for the passion that you exuded while working on this challenge, the content for the challenge. I mean, the intentionality was truly amazing. And of course, I want to thank all the participants and community members for diving into the content, showing up for our Community Action Fridays, and bravely sharing your thought-provoking reflections. You give our team the strength and encouragement to continue to do what we do, and we thank each one of you. As the leader of our organization's DEI efforts, this is so much more than work to me. It's personal. Prior to joining United Way, I served in education for 26 years in roles ranging from teacher to principal to chief innovation officer. I've witnessed firsthand the negative impacts that equity gaps and disparities create. And I've also witnessed the positive impact on children when we decide that inequity and injustice is no longer an option, is no longer acceptable, and we take steps to change practices and policies that we know have not proven beneficial for people of color, people who are differently able, or people who just traditionally marginalized demographics. When we focus on equity as a part of everyday life, we can actualize change for every person, regardless of race, gender, or social economic status, or other isms. The future of our region truly depends on each of us taking action to build more equitable communities. The Equity Challenge, whether this is your first year or your fourth year, it is a great first step. But we must continue these conversations in our homes, in our workplaces, our schools, our faith-based institutions, and anywhere else people are gathered. Now is a great time to assess your comments moving forward and begin to ask yourself how you will continue to learn, grow, and share with others. My team is here to support you no matter where you are in your journey and what your goals are. Our greatest impact happens when we lock arms with one another and embrace our journey to combat inequities together. My journey with United Way really started when I was a little girl, in keeping with Father's Day theme that Dr. Hudson so adequately lifted up and eloquently lifted up. I remember my father serving on a committee at the local United Way in Louisiana. And the committee that he worked on was a faith-based committee that truly focused on addressing inequities in community. I remember the pen, and I recently found the pen that he wore so proudly because he knew that he was working on something worthwhile being a member of this United Way committee. My father recently passed away, and having that pen, I keep it close to my heart because I know that's where my United Way journey started as a little girl. And I want to continue his legacy to make sure that I am pouring in, that I am working with community to combat inequities alongside each one of you. A huge thanks to everyone once again. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Andre and Steph.
Thank you so much, Tanya. We appreciate your leadership. And again, someone drop in the chat for me right now. Nothing significant happens without someone taking the bold stance of leadership. Nothing significant happens without someone taking the bold stance of leadership. Steph, I was just thinking about how the world that we'll have tomorrow is based upon the actions that we take today. And the actions that you have taken in helping to lead and organize this 21 days has been remarkable. We have the opportunity now to share some of that data, and a huge thanks to our strategy and transformation team that was so instrumental in helping us to construct these beautiful charts that you all will see next. And so when we're looking at this chart, and this is reflective of our new signups. So I know we have some people who have been with us since day one and they have signed up each year, but this is reflective of our 2024 signups. As you can see, Detroit is leading the way in Wayne County for signups for 2024. But then our Washington friends are not far behind. You see Ann Arbor, home of the University of Michigan. I am not a part of that, but for those to stand in solidarity with you, go blue for those who come from University of Michigan. And then, of course, Ypsilanti. I know my Eagles are out there, right? EMU, for those who are a part of that world, thank you all for signing up. And of course, as I shared, this impact goes beyond our region and it impacts other states. So Pennsylvania, if you're in the house, please drop in the chat where you're from. And then Jackson, Michigan. I have to shout it out for my wife because it's nearby Spring Arbor, but Spring Arbor University, all of these great institutions that are really primed to put information out there, such as the 21-Day Equity Challenge, to ensure that we are brave, the bravery that it takes to confront the world that we're living in now and the challenges that it displays. On our team, we talk about, Steph, the beauty and the complexity of our humanity, that we have a lot of work to do, but that we've also come a long way. And then here we are as Steph gets ready to take us into some more data, I want you all to please drop in the chat, I am brave. I am learning. I am taking action. I am human. So to share our progress from year to year, Steph is going to walk us through the next slide that shows us how far we have come. Steph?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Andre. And thank you for all of the love my way, for the work from the challenge over these last 4 years. I feel such an immense pride deep in my soul, hearing Dr. Hudson, Tanya, and you speak about the transformation over the past 4 years, and recognizing in many ways when we started the challenge, it was scary. It was a step forward into the unknown, into something that we weren't sure how it would be responded to. And so I put this in the chat as you were talking, but to see the way that folks have really made the challenge their own. We're hearing stories all the time about community members who take challenge topics to the kitchen table, or leaders and organizations who are hosting their own internal roundtables. The conversations that are happening from the challenge are creating real action. And even though it's year 4, in so many ways, it feels like we're just getting started. Something that we also talk about a lot on our team is once you know better, you do better. But also once we can start to raise all of our collective consciousness, there's more to learn and more to grow. And so I'm so excited to see where that takes us. So on our screens, you're seeing some bar graphs. These graphs represent growth in our Equity Challenge participant community from the past 4 years. So back in year 1 in 2021, we created a survey measure. I might be as bold enough to say I don't think this exists anywhere else. It came from a labor of love of our team internally, and a lot of folks who were working in equity talking about the journey. So you hear us say that a lot, that equity is a muscle, that equity is a journey. It's a lifelong process of committing yourself to justice and action. How do we figure out where people are on that journey? And that's where this measure came from. So there's 4 steps to it. The first is I'm not on an equity journey. And for that might just mean for someone that they're unsure, maybe they're a little bit unaware of how inequity or social justice issues impact their life or their community. Or maybe they're in a place where they don't believe or think that they're impacted by inequity. Then we have beginning my journey. This person is someone who is personally dedicated to their own learning and growth towards a more equitable and just community. And they're starting to ask questions about root causes of why these things happen. They're trying to seek to understand a little bit more about what equity means in the context of their community. And then the third is someone who's committed to their ongoing journey. And the way that we define this is a person who's committed to an ongoing equity journey routinely seeks to understand the root causes and systems that facilitate inequity, that this person understands how equity relates to their own personal life, to the various communities that they belong to, and that they seek to address inequity in their personal, professional, and community life. Someone who's committed to their journey understands that it's lifelong, that it's never ending, there's always more to learn and to grow in. And this is the type of person who probably comes back every year. And so what we love to see on the graph that you're looking at is over time, people have come to us and they've grown at the start of the challenge. So in year 1, we had around 51% of folks who said, I'm committed to a journey. I understand the root causes. I want to dig deeper. Over the years, that number has steadily grown. So in 2022, that jumped to 54%, 2023 to 63%. And this past year in 2024, 72% of the folks who joined us on day 1 of the challenge said that they were already committed to an equity journey and they were here to dig deeper and to do better together. And so seeing these numbers grow over time has been encouraging to us, but it's also a reminder that we need each other. So even as we're learning and doing better, it requires us to hold each other accountable. What does it mean to come in already committed? How do we meet you where you're at and move you forward together? And also, who are we missing? That's also been a conversation we've been having a lot recently. So Andre, would love to hear a little bit more on our next learning statistic.
So Steph, over the 21 days, we've asked people to commit to 1% of their day. 1% of their day, 15 minutes to reading, watching, listening, and engaging with the challenge. Here's the question that I'd like to loft to everybody that's listening. When you ask yourself, especially because there's a narrative around change that says that change is difficult. But if you have the capacity to learn, you have the capacity to change. Somebody put that in the chat. If you have the capacity to learn, you also have the capacity to change. So what you see reflective on the screen is the hours of learning that has gone into the chat. And if you dedicated at least 15 minutes per day, over the 21 days, you amassed 5 hours of learning. We know that in the learning community, there's this, it's not a new phenomenon, but people, it's a wave, it's a trend. It's this idea of micro learning, right? Of learning something every single day to really advance in your personal life and your professional life. And so the 21-day lean in, listen, you all, there are 84 days of equity-focused content right now on our website. I saw the website dropped in the chat, but 84 days of equity-focused content. If you were to invest 15 minutes per day all over all those 84 days, you have 20 hours worth of learning. I know some of you are looking for those CEUs. Lean into the 21-day equity challenge. So we see just above almost 2,100 hours of learning that happened during these 21 days. Now, Steph, can you break that down for us? What are those almost 2,000, just over close to 2,100 hours? How does that break down for us?
Absolutely. So as folks who've all participated in the challenge, you know that every day we give an option: read, watch, listen, engage, act. And so how did that look this year? We had 1,169 hours of reading. So that was our biggest one. 494 hours of watching. This could be a short video, or it could be a long TED Talk, a speech. I really want to highlight this middle section. We had 262 hours of listening. So yes, there were podcasts to listen to, but new this year, there were audio versions of all 21 Equity Challenge days that you could listen to the summaries. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Shayla Zimmerman, who really spearheaded that initiative internally for United Way, took the time to record every person, stayed up late, worked weekends to edit those, and then also found our music producer, Daniel Sharp, who donated his original music free to us to use at the beginning and end of those sessions. So thank you so much, Shayla, for all of your commitment and work on that. And also thank you, Tiffany Buggs, for your help from the communication side, making sure it matched all of the United Way needs and getting us all settled there. If you liked that, we'd love to know. Later at the end of the show, we're going to show a post survey. That's something we'd love to know. How did that work for you? Was this helpful? Did it provide an accessibility measure? Do you want to see more of this next year? We spent 162 hours engaging, and we spent 7 hours acting, both from the content, and then also we had our Action Fridays on both Fridays of the challenge. Andre, I would love to hand it back to you so that we can have a conversation about what happens next. There's a very important day coming up, Juneteenth.
There is a very important day coming up, Juneteenth, and we're so excited that it's being recognized nationally, but that as United Way for Southeastern Michigan, we have continued our commitment to community and making sure that we acknowledge this important day. And so whether you call it Jubilee Day or Emancipation Day or Freedom Day or Black Independence Day, widely known as Juneteenth, we have had the pleasure and the honor over the last 3 years to really partner with an organization that is making waves and individual leaders that are making waves specifically in the small Black business community. And so today I have the honor of introducing the president and CEO of Michigan Black Business Alliance. The president and CEO of Michigan Black Business Alliance is Charity Dean. She also serves as the Black Chamber of Commerce, serving in Black business in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County. Charity is the former director of Civil Rights, Inclusion, and Opportunity for the city of Detroit. And I think one thing that I know that she's definitely proud of is being the co-owner of one of Detroit's premier coffee shops known as Rosa. Charity, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent. So listen, this coming Sunday, Father's Day, we are also celebrating Juneteenth down at the Eastern Market Shed 5. It is the Juneteenth Freedom Fest. Tell me about what we can expect and why Michigan Black Business Alliance is really taking the charge to host and hold this event.
Absolutely. So first, thank you for being here. I've just been listening to the conversation. The 21-day racial equity challenges, really powerful, and you guys are doing some amazing work at United Way. We're grateful to you guys for being a sponsor yet again for this important event. So the Michigan Black Business Alliance, we're new, right? So we're about 3 years old. And our mission is to help close the racial wealth gap by creating programs and advocating for policies that result in thriving Black businesses. And so we've been doing that for our over 1,500 members across the state for the last 3 years. Juneteenth is really important, though. It's important because not only is it a celebration of liberation for Black people in America, Juneteenth was founded in Galveston, Texas. It is when the last enslaved people found out about their freedom. And so we are, to your point, excited that it is finally recognized nationally as our country, but Black folks have been celebrating this since the late 1800s. And so we do a family fun event at the Eastern Market every year. This will be year 3. And it really is something for everyone. So it's a celebration of Black entrepreneurship. It's a celebration of Black community, Black dads. We actually give away a Cool Dad Award every year because our celebration is on Father's Day every year. But it's also an opportunity to learn. We partner with the NAACP and the Charles H. Wright Museum to do this event, and we have learning opportunities to learn more about what Juneteenth is at the event. And then we have Black businesses that are vendors that are there. You can help support Black businesses. You can go and shop, bring your family. There's a kid zone, so there's a place where kids can play. The Detroit Pistons is a sponsor. They've got a hoop out there so kids can play basketball. And DPS is going to have a literacy tent out there, so reading and reading and a lot of activities, fun activities for the children. We have a grown zone too. So that's for the 21 and up, where you can go and relax. You can sit down. There's seating in there. You can have a drink, cigars, because it's Father's Day. And then we have a concert on the main stage. And so we have a lot of Detroit artists, DJs that are going to be performing. So we'll be there on Sunday from 12 to 6. And our event is really important. It's crucial, but it's not possible without partners like United Way that are not just talking the talk, but also walking the walk. So really excited. You can get your tickets. I think someone put it on the chat, but you can go to Juneteenth313Detroit.com. Please go and get free tickets and share on your social media. Just invite everybody. It really is a great opportunity to celebrate.
Well, Charity, listen, I will be there. Listen, and I am excited. You have the kids zone, you have the grown zone, you have the literacy zone, you have the vendor tables. Last year, I remember we were seeing some of the Detroit legends as far as music industry going,
Yes.
some of the premier talent that is coming, and we're seeing their music featured all over the world now. So don't miss out on what's happening right in your backyard. I want everyone to meet me down at the Eastern Market from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., where we are celebrating with the Michigan Black Business Alliance and Charity Dean and Kai Bowman. Listen, I'm excited. I'm just going to take some podium privilege here as well to say what you all did during the draft for Black businesses is admirable. And listen, if everybody could help me clap, and if you haven't learned about it, please go to their website to learn more about what they did in recess down there at the NFL draft. And so if you know anyone that has a small Black business or a Black business and they're looking for resources, definitely guide them the direction of the Michigan Black Business Alliance. Charity, thank you so much for your time today, and I am looking forward to being there. I'll be there. Matter of fact, I need some more swag. So make sure that we have the swag on deck. So thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So then that brings us to the pleasant opportunity for me to introduce someone who is always willing to help, always willing to lean in. They're always making sure that everything is aligned and that we are on the same page when things are happening, as well as someone who's talking about how fun her family is. I love to hear about her son and the growth that he's had over the couple of years. When we were thinking about the 21-day equity challenge, there is shots and videos of her talking about making sure that her son is prepared to engage in the world more equitably. Kristen Sabalkis is our director of engagement, who will tell us more about the resources that United Way has to offer to get you to engage. Everybody drop in the chat, give, volunteer, advocate. Let's welcome right now, Director of Engagement, Kristen Sabalkis.
Thank you so much, Andre. Yes, that is the one thing about being a parent, is that I want to make sure that my son is growing up and understanding the impact that he has on this community and the role that he can play. So I appreciate you noticing that and pointing that out. So hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Sabalskis. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Director of Engagement here at United Way. This year, we added community action days, which were projects and events that allowed our challenge participants to have tangible engagement in our learnings from the Equity Challenge. So this year we had 3 community action days, the first of which was a challenge long book drive. It was available virtually, and it helped stock our United Way Little Free libraries that are located throughout our region. Thank you to everyone that donated books. These books are getting right into the hands of the community and into our children. So we're really thankful for your support for those. The second Community Action Day was held on May 31st at Avalon Healing in Detroit. If you're not familiar, Avalon provides compassionate and trauma-informed care to survivors of sexual assault. So about 20 people joined us to learn more about anti-trafficking and the incredible work that Avalon does for our community in that space and also in other spaces as well. We are so grateful to Avalon for partnering with us and hosting such an informative and engaging learning session. Everyone had a great time, and we've heard nothing but positive things about the presentation and the staff and the work that they do. So we're very grateful. And our last project took place at Guiding Harbor in Belleville, where a small but mighty group of volunteers helped give the facilities a makeover with a fresh coat of paint. So Guiding Harbor provides child caring and child placement services for children, and make sure this project helped make sure that they had a warm and supportive space, which is incredibly important for children that are going through a really transitional period of their lives, through foster care or through what that might be. And finally, if you want to continue your Equity Challenge journey, we want to make sure that you're aware of United Way's volunteer portal. This is a one-stop shop where you can find organizations and volunteer opportunities to participate in. Our volunteer portal has over 650 nonprofit and community organizations and over several hundred volunteer opportunities that are available throughout Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, and now Washtenaw counties. It's a great resource. The site is free for everyone, whether you're a volunteer or an organization. It's free to use, and it's a great way to find meaningful ways to positively impact your community, even after the challenge ends. Now, once again, I want to thank everyone who participated in our challenge, or our Community Action Fridays. We're really grateful for your support. We hope you had a great time, and I personally hope to see you at a project here soon in our community. And once again, I'm going to pass it over to Steph.
Thank you so much, Kristen. We really appreciate all your leadership in making our vision of Community Action Fridays a reality. Something we saw in our challenge surveys every year is that our participants are looking for more ways to take action. And so this was our first attempt at that, and it went really well. So thank you for all of your leadership and all that your team did. Now we're going to get to my favorite part of learning and growth, which is reflection. So if you know me or you've attended any challenge event in the last 4 years, you know that I geek out about reflection. And so new to this year, the folks at United Way let me live my dreams a little bit more, and we offered Friday recaps. So during those Friday recaps, this was a chance for all of us to pause, revisit a challenge day that you wanted to learn more about, and really make time for some serious self-reflection. This reflection is all about your learning and your growth, making connections between what's showing up when you're learning and how you can then take action later. So on day 1, we asked you, what do you hope to learn during the challenge this year? Or what actions have you taken in the last 3 months toward equity? So what you're seeing on this slide is a beautiful word cloud from all of your responses to those questions. Some of the answers we got. Some folks took action by going to social justice meetings in their community. It's a great way to get involved. Some folks talked to family. Some brought DEI into their workplace. Some taught a DEI workshop, took their learning and shared it in new community spaces. Some things that folks wanted to learn this year was more historical facts, how to address workplace bias, how to do more equitable grading, how to have equity in the classroom, how to do more nonviolent acts of protest, and have more options for impact. So at this time, we are going to ask you to join us in a reflection right here during our program. What came up for you during the challenge this year? What did you learn? How do you feel? And what actions will you take? We're going to pause the program for about 45 seconds. There's going to be some music playing, and we invite you to use the chat to answer these questions. And we'll keep coming back to these for the next few minutes. But as any thought pops into your head, we'd love to know it. There's no right or wrong answer here. So one last time, what came up for you during the challenge? What did you learn? How do you feel? Or what actions will you take? So we're going to pause the program for 45 seconds for you to start reflecting on that and start putting those responses right in the chat. All right, everyone, wrap up those thoughts. If you're feeling brave enough, I'd love to see you put that in the chat. I see Jerome SC said something that he's reflecting on is there is still a long way to go. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that reflection with us, Jerome. Berlinda just put in the chat the importance of recognizing and appreciating the differences in others. Absolutely. I'm glad that you've had that reflection. On Fridays this year, we offered a virtual reflection space. And so what I'm going to do next is share some of the responses that you sent us on Fridays. As I'm doing this, please feel free to keep those reflections coming. If anything resonates with you or you agree with something that I share from the slide, please also let us know in the chat. So some of your reflections this year, that you learned about how institutions acting with trustworthiness was a huge eye-opener. One of our participants shared that as a fundraiser, they struggled with the day on trust-based philanthropy and will reflect more on how we are securing funding and getting feedback from the people we serve. Absolutely. I'm seeing a couple about the Henrietta Lacks story and how it leaves people feeling amazed, but also reminds of how much Black people have contributed significantly to the modernization of America, but continue to lag behind economically. Another person shared with that they really appreciated learning about the HeLa cells that were from Henrietta Lacks and the wrong that was done to her family. And this person plans to buy a book on this. Another person shared that hearing about attempts to dismantle voting rights made them angry, and they plan to be more involved in encouraging folks to vote this year. We had a couple participants who shared that they learned new perspectives and that they want to work for change. Someone else shared that they learned about the disparities in voters over the years and how that still impacts people today. And lastly, someone shared that they felt so angry at the systems that continue to get in the way of nonprofits creating a more equitable standard of living. So please keep your reflections coming in the chat. I want to name that I'm hearing a lot of anger from some of those reflections after the first couple of weeks, which is a normal part of the process. And what we do with that anger matters, how we move forward and use that to fuel us to keep learning and take action. Just a reminder that you can still add your reflections to the chat. So what came up for you during the challenge? What did you learn? How did you feel? And what actions did you take? I'm seeing from the chat, someone shared, I will always learn something during the challenge. The prison doulas was interesting. There is still a ton of work to do. I intend to keep learning and sharing with others. Thanks for sharing your reflection, Crystal. Another one says the serious need for mental health personnel in every police call. Thank you for sharing that. That definitely relates to our Nonviolent Crisis Day. Don Peters says that they feel empowered to learn more and do better, that some uncomfortable feelings did come up, but in a good way, and that they know they need to improve upon and how to start, and that they learn something new every day. Thank you for sharing this, Dawn. I'm seeing some reflections from Ladisha, that she recognized how difficult our healthcare system is to navigate and to afford. And it's also a challenge to seek healthcare providers who are equitable in their treatment of people of color. Absolutely. She shares that she felt worried for people in her community who are suffering from chronic illnesses, and that she wants to seek opportunities for health-related organizations to take action with. Thank you for sharing that, Ladisha. Next, I'm going to share a couple more reflections that you all gave us from your Fridays on the last 2 weeks of the challenge. So our participants let us know that this week they had learned a lot about the misconceptions of immigrants and refugees and how often our society others people in these groups in order to treat them inhumanely. This was something I heard a lot, that this day seemed to really resonate with folks. We had a lot of conversations internally with our team about that day this year. Another participant shared that this week they learned about, or they thought about how to educate others, how to shoot down misconceptions, especially on that same topic of immigration and refugees. Someone shared that this week they reflected on how they must find the time to have real conversations with friends and neighbors on DEI, and that's the only way we can implement change, one step at a time. We have a community member who shared that this week they learned about anti-fatness discrimination, and that topic has been a blind spot for them in the past, but it's important to consider, especially when working in wellness programming. Another community member shared about trafficking, that they thought about how the social media narrative of trafficking and actual trafficking looked vastly different. It made them wonder if any progress on anti-trafficking measures might improve if the communication was not so discombobulated. Someone else shared that they thought cost shouldn't prohibit someone from obtaining civil legal support. Libraries have done lots of work on connecting people with such resources, but they'd like to be able to see more cross-community connection. I'm going to read one more from our slide here. The last is that the offering that stuck with this person was about immigration and refugees, and that it motivated them to commit themselves to improving their own Spanish language learning so they can better communicate with new neighbors and community members. Thank you all for sharing your reflections. I see some more coming in the chat. Please keep those coming. I'm going to highlight one from Denise, who works at United Way. Every year I learn more about myself and I have become more open to change. I am, but also more acceptance of others that are different from me. Thanks for sharing that vulnerable reflection, Denise, who I like to call my adopted grandma. So shout out, Denise. At this time, we'd love to invite you to take our post-challenge survey. So this challenge survey is available to you now. If you have a phone or a mobile device, you can pull up your camera and hold it up to your screen. From there, a link will pop up. You can tap it on your phone, and that will pull up our post-challenge survey. This is also going to be sent to you in an email on Monday with some Juneteenth information and events that you can go to. This post-challenge survey is really important because it helps us not only measure your learning and growth, but this is a place for you to share feedback on the types of topics you'd like to see next year, what types of support on equity you'd like to see from our United Way. We use these responses to inform future equity offerings at United Way. So please use your voice and let us know how we can support you on your equity journey. Our last way we'd like you to take action with us this year is to continue to talk to your social circle. So if you're on social media, please let us know how you rose to the challenge. Share this with your social media family, use the hashtag equity challenge, and take the EC24. At this time, I'm going to hand it back to our fearless leader, Andre Ebron, who's going to lead us in some breath work to close out our time today.
Thank you, Steph. Those were very powerful reflections. In fact, I could feel some of that tangible anger that was coming through some of the comments or reflections, as well as I could feel some of that deep reflection of recognizing that we have a long way to go. Here's what I'd like to really offer as we get ready to center ourselves to breathe. And what I really share with our team is that this breathing exercise really helps to close that vulnerability lid that is necessary to engage this work. And so when you think about us being vulnerable, and I said that I thought that I might not share these words, but there are 2 4-letter words that I just have to say on the call. I brought my 4-letter words today, so I need everybody to lean in and listen. My first 4-letter word that I'm going to share is love. I don't know where you thought I was going, but the first 4-letter word that I'm going to share is love. You cannot do this work and really be effective if you're not mobilizing that caring power. That's what we're talking about in our mission. Love is the most transformational force that we as humans have the ability to exercise. So make sure that you bring your love that is vulnerable, love that is strong, love that is engaging, love that is committed. So beneath your excitement, there must be a commitment to see it through. The second 4-letter word that I brought with me today is work. That love is translated into work, and that work is what's going to bring the difference. So in this moment, I need you to think about how you can convert that anger into productive action that leads to systemic change. How can you convert that anger that leads to productive action that produces systemic change? So we're just going to do some cleansing breaths, sitting up in our chair straight, relaxing our shoulders back and down, letting our whole body be still. If you're in an environment where you feel comfortable and safe, you can close your eyes, or you can find something in the room to focus on. We're going to breathe in, inhaling through our nose to the count of 5. And we're going to exhale to the count of 8. On my count. Ready? Breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhaling through our mouths. Exhale now. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly open your eyes. Recognize the sounds in your environment. Rotate your shoulders and slowly recenter yourself. I appreciate you all's participation in the 21-Day Equity Challenge. And now I want to tell you about our 211 resources. So 211, and shout out to our 211 team that is on the front lines every single day. So our 211 helpline provides referrals to programs to assist with food, housing, financial assistance, utilities assistance, and more. Help is available 24 hours a day, every day of the year, from anywhere in the state of Michigan. If you need help finding resources in your area, dial 211, email us, or to speak with a representative via live chat now. You want to browse the resources on your own at your own volition? You can search our online databases that has access to more than 30,000 different statewide programs and services. If you're experiencing problems dialing 211, please dial 1-800-552-1183. Let me say that again, 1-800-552-1183. Again, I want to offer so much thanks and appreciation for the fearless leadership of our President and CEO, Dr. Darian Hudson, our Chief Development, Diversity, and Engagement Officer, Dr. Tanya Adair, to Steph Rawls, our Learning and Engagement, our DEI Learning and Engagement Associate Director, to the content team, to all of our corporate sponsors and community partners. We could not do this without you. And to everyone that is on the call, you are an important part of the change that we envision, not just for tomorrow, but that it begins today. Somebody drop in the chat, I will continue to rise to the challenge. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. I'll see you at the Juneteenth Freedom Fest down at Eastern Market, Shed 5. Have a great day.